So in our last story, we read about an inventor named Robert Fulton and his contribution to westward expansion in the United States. He took an invention that was already there, the steamboat, and he made it better so that travel by boat in between bigger cities was possible. We also heard, though, at the end of that story that there are some cities in our country, some bigger cities that don't have a river or a lake nearby that would allow for water travel. And so in today's story, we're going to read about something that helped to fix that problem. And you're going to hear about something that you're already familiar with. So something called a canal, which we already know moves water from one place to another. And so in today's story, we're going to hear about how people who are very innovative or like to create things and solve problems, how people who are innovative found a way to use canals to connect bigger cities. So the one that we're going to hear about today is found in the state of New York, which we read about yesterday with Robert Fulton and his steamship. We read about how he started out down in New York City and traveled up the Hudson River with his steamship, his steamboat. And the Hudson River up here travels along the eastern part of New York State. And the people in the 1800s wanted to figure out, how can we get goods and supplies from the river over here to some of the Great Lakes on the western side of the state. So what they decided to do was to build a large canal called the Erie Canal that goes all the way across the state of New York, connecting the Hudson River, which connects to the Atlantic Ocean. So we can go from the Atlantic Ocean up the Hudson River, across the Erie Canal, and end up here in Lake Erie. Once you're in Lake Erie, it opens up a whole world of possibilities because now you have access to all 5 of the Great Lakes. So it can take you to bigger cities that are all along the Great Lakes. So you might recognize the names of some of them, like Cleveland, which is a big city in Ohio, Detroit, which is a large city in Michigan. You can keep traveling and you can get all the way to Chicago, and you can travel up into Lake Superior and get to Duluth, which would connect you with the Mississippi River. And as we already know, the Mississippi River is a waterway that links us to a lot of cities, bigger cities out in the western part of the United States. So today we're going to get started, and our story is called The Journal of a 12-Year-Old on the Erie Canal. So before we jump into our stories, I want to share with you a few vocabulary words. So here I'm going to turn our camera again to make sure I have it in the right spot. So pretty close there. All right, so our first word today is Erie Canal. A 363-mile-long man-made waterway created during the early 1800s to join the Hudson River to Lake Erie in New York State. So I can only imagine how challenging it would have been to build a 363-mile-long waterway. So that waterway had to be deep enough and wide enough for ships to fit through. The next word is tow, which means to pull or haul. So you might be familiar with that word if you've ever towed something or you've seen something towed on a truck. You can hook something up, but you can also tow something with a boat. Transport, to carry or move from one place to another. And finally, today we have the word freight. And freight is goods that are moved from one place to another by ship, train, truck, wagon, or airplane. I'm going to go ahead and jump into our story. The Journal of a 12-Year-Old on the Erie Canal. Remember, a journal would be a record that somebody took. They would write about their experiences each day in their journal, so that now in the future we can look back and we can read about people's experiences. Pa and I have been making our way along the Erie Canal from Albany to Buffalo today at a good steady pace. So here in the picture, you can see the boy and his dad, and they're on a boat in some water here. So they're right there on the canal. We're traveling on our brand new flatboat. A flatboat is a big flat boat on which we carry goods and products along the Erie Canal. Well, to be honest, the flatboat isn't quite ours yet, but almost. Last night, Pa told me when we reach Buffalo, we will have made the last payment on this flatboat. Then it's all ours at last. You see, we made a deal with Mr. Franklin that every time we take the flatboat up and back for him, part of our pay goes toward buying the flatboat for ourselves. It has taken 3 years of hard work. We are really excited to actually own the flatboat, because then we will be able to keep all the money we earn on each trip we make. Ma and Sis are waiting for us in Buffalo. I can't wait to see them again. I love being on the flatboat with Pa, but all the work we do makes us tired. The thing is, I don't know exactly how many more days it will take to get to Buffalo. It depends on how much of the freight we sell along the way. Remember, freight is the goods that they have on their flatboat. The more we sell, the less the flatboat will weigh, and the faster we will be able to travel. Sometimes a store owner or manufacturer at some town or village asks us to add his products to our flatboat. Every time we take more goods on board, it slows down our travel. My favorite part of helping Pa is that I get to care for the mules. We have such a big flatboat that it takes 3 mules to tow it. So if you look over here on the side on land, we've got 1, 2, 3 mules. Here's the little boy. And you can see that there's lines that connect the mules to the flatboat. So now we know how the boats are moved along the canal. They walk on the towpath next to the canal and pull the ropes that are connected to the flatboat. Some smaller flatboats along the canal are 1-mule flatboats, or sometimes horses or oxen do the pulling. Before folks built the Erie Canal, it took longer to move things from the east westward. Because a flatboat floats on water, it's much easier to transport heavy freight like coal and wood. Plus, you don't need to worry about a wagon wheel breaking on the trail. Not only that, it costs less money to travel on the canals than over land. Pa says that for every $1 it used to cost to travel on land, it now costs only about a dime to travel on the canal's water. Remember, a dime is 10 cents, so it costs only 10 cents for every 100 cents that it took to travel on land. So they're saving 90 cents every mile, so that probably adds up pretty quick. Because the canal made it so much easier and faster to head westward, many people moved west to farm or build new cities. See, Pa explained to me that moving out to the west seemed like a good idea once the people knew they could sell whatever they grew or made to folks back in the east, as well as to people in the west. It's amazing how much the Erie Canal changed things here. It's hard to imagine a time without it. Lucky for us, today was a really great day for traveling up the canal. In nice weather, we can travel lots of miles. When it's stormy though, like it was a couple of weeks ago, it's not so pleasant. It was snowing so much, we nearly had to stop right where we were. The snow was coming down so heavily you couldn't see your hand if you put it out right in front of you. Imagine that kind of snow. Whoa. Fortunately, our mules are always able to stay on the path, even in a snowstorm. So I just let them lead the way, and they bring us safely to the next town. Anyway, I think that's about it for now. I'm pretty tired after all the work today. I think it is time for me to get some sleep, so I'm ready to work on the flatboat again tomorrow. So that is the end of the story of the boy's adventures on the Erie Canal and his flatboat with his father. It sounds like he's got quite a bit of stories to tell if he is helping his dad with all that hard work. So go ahead, and if you need to listen to the story again, you can rewind and do that. Otherwise, if you're ready, go ahead and answer your questions from today's story.